So we're continuing the second part on education, our kids, focusing today more on the teens. And there's two approaches that parents can have. The most common approach is, this is what I tell you to do and you do it, or is giving a choice of what to do. Now the first one is most common, is in a way the easiest for the parent. You do this or you get punished and that's it. Or the second one is more of a relationship between, you can do this or you can do that, but if you do this, this is going to be the consequence. If you do that, this is going to be the consequences. You have to be responsible for your action, and I want you to choose for yourself, not because I just tell you to do. And the difference is that the child is gonna, even though the second one is more challenging because the child might choose to do something that you don't want, but the child learns that his relationship with God, when God tells him, I want you to do that, then although the child knows that really ultimately it's good, he can say no. But it's not about being just a servant of God. It's becoming a relationship that Hashem wants ideally to want to choose to do that. And like a relation as a spouse. With the spouses, I don't know, you do the dishes, or you go work, or you clean the house. No, it's not. I want to do it because I love you. That's the level. That's the highest level. And obviously, at the beginning, when the child is very young, we push them to do things. But even when they're very young, you can give little choice. Okay, everybody has a chore in the house. Would you rather wash the dishes or take out the garbage? Or another way is, okay, you have to go to sleep. It's time to go to sleep. Go to sleep. Or you want to go to sleep now or in 5 minutes? And you play everything with the choice. This way, the relationship is a relationship of love and choices, where my choice matter, where I matter, where my opinion matter, and it's not just about serving the parents or God just because He says so. Although, yes, we should just do it because that's the right thing to do. But then there's no relationship. We lose the whole personality of the person. I can just do from day to morning to night, all what Hashem wants. But that's not what Hashem wants. Hashem wants my own personality to be involved in what I do for Him. So if it's just about serving, and just doing, then it becomes more of a Noach type of thing, right? I'm a tzaddik, I do just what you say, and that's it. But Hashem didn't want a Noach. Hashem wanted the Avraham who went out of his way to get people, to change the world. That Noah just took the people in the Teva. He didn't help the people to really to do tshuva, and he didn't pray for them as much as he should have. But just, I'm a tzaddik, and just do what Hashem wants. Hashem wants you. Avraham worked lifnei Hashem, not im Hashem Yisalech Noach. Noach worked with Hashem. Avraham worked before Hashem. He anticipated and shows a real love, a real relationship. So begin then the guidance and training of your child early before the times of duty arise. And if you have done so, do not abandon to it just when the time of duty does arrive, when it devolves on him in real earnest, because now the animal in him awakens with more force than before. Train him that he may be able to go through the fight between animal and duty and emerge victoriously from it as a man. We have to speak to our children. The more you're open with your kids, the more your kids will want to speak to you and go to you for help and questions. The child, we have to speak to our children about the birds and the bees, I don't know how they say it, about sexuality, about drugs, about all the things that are out there, and we have to do that before their friends teach it to them. And today it's very young, 9-10 years old, is already where they have to know most of the stuff already. And there are ways to teach it. There's a few books, not so many, but we have to teach it as something natural. Yeah, you have a desire in your body, it's normal, it's called Yetzer, it's called instinct, it's called your body in order to reproduce, what different things, different ways to teach it in a way that is holy and natural and beautiful. Sex should not be something disgusting or evil. On the contrary, it should be a force. Understanding is a tremendous force, and then we have to learn to control it to be able to do holy things with it. So we have to address the animal in the child, and we have to be the reference point where they can go to ask questions about that animalistic thing they feel in them. It is at this time that it requires more than ever the support, the friendly direction, the eye and the tongue of a loving father. And will you just at this time thrust him out into the big wide world, and at 14, 15, 16 years expose him to the struggle which arise in his own nature apart from those to which evil example, seduction and temptation will expose him? So you have to be able, don't throw your child in the world just like that at 15, 16, 17. That's where they need to be the most with you, and they need to speak the most with you to deal with all the challenges of being a teenager. We have to really to be aware of that. Far from you. So sometimes parents send the kids away. I cannot deal with this teenager and put it in dormitory. That can be very, very dangerous if the child is not very strong or structured. Far from you, he may sink into sensuality and coarseness. He may give way to self-indulgence or every kind of passion and frivolity and become estranged from Judaism. You have to speak about, the pleasure, and God is not here to prevent you from having pleasure, but there are pleasures that are destructive. And we have to have all those conversations with our kids. The more we talk, the more we open minded, the more the kids will, understand and want and come to you to ask, and will be able to deal with it because they understand. If then as he falls, he in spirit stretches out his hand to you after the conflict has ended in his moral and spiritual death, and finds you far, far away, so that he sinks irretrievably. How will you, the father, stand before God when he requires of you a reckoning for the soul of your lost child? Meaning, let's say your child end up running after girl, or is running after drugs, or God forbid, and go into the world and a lot of physical things, start eating not kosher, chas v'shalom, all the different things. And then all of a sudden he finds himself spiritually low, detached, disconnected from God, and he wants to do tshuva, but you have rejected him. You're a guy. You're like, look what you chose. You're not welcome in this house. How can I love you if you do that? That's the worst thing you can do. You don't do that. That is saying, Hashem, how many times you failed? How many times you were zera levatala when you were a child? How many times did Hashem, hurt you? Did Hashem, was Hashem far? No, Hashem was always here. We don't always see it, obviously, but doesn't matter. Whatever problem we have as children, as teenagers, Hashem is, the father and the mother have to be here and say, my door is always open. I know it's challenging. I understand it's challenging, but no, I'm here for you. I love you, and I know you can do it, and I'll always be here for you. Here too, our sages have a word for us. What is the period in which you should most earnestly seek to give guidance to your child? From the age of 16 to 20. I don't know which Gemara he's referring to, but according to others, from 18 to 24. So our sages advise, and what do we do? You parents can do it, for not everything which looks difficult is impossible. Till he was 13, God sent down the manna to your home for your child. Hashem always gave you food you needed to feed your child. And can he not bestow it till the 14 and 15 year and even further, until your child becomes strong under your wing, and through training in self-command grows into a man able to master every hostile force from without, and you can without fear let him go out into the world? So Hashem is saying that in the past, I guess, people will go work very early. You need to support the family, go out in the world, work. No. You need to support him as long as possible, and up to 24. It's interesting. 24, that means if your child is still home by when he's 24, it's okay. As long as you give him the tools to be ready to go into the world. Now, listen, this is now what he says is crucial. When you have a teenager. In those years, so speaking between 14 and 20 and 24, but 18 from 14 and up, in those years, parents become friends to your children. You have to become friends to your children. Let the son and the daughter have no greater or closer friend than father and mother. Parents too have no greater or more natural friends than their children when grown up. There's one thing where I'm your father and you do this what I tell you, and then it goes to friend. I'm here to help you. Let's do that together. If you always want to be on top of them and they feel that thing, then we're losing. The child is not gonna go for you for help. He's gonna look for friends, and the friends are usually bad influence or not the best advice. So you have to really become their best friend. People sometimes have scared like, oh yeah, but he's not gonna respect me. It's gonna different. Now you're not anymore his parent. I mean, you are his parents, but it's not anymore father son. Now it's like he's a human being on his own. He's standing on his own, and you have to respect for him who is on his own. And children need to find that respect, that recognition, that I'm not only your son now, I'm your son, but I'm also someone. I'm also someone that needs respect. I see someone that needs to be listened to. Because if you don't do that, then it's all about you being on me. You, the parent, deciding for himself, to answer for himself, to get things from me. And that's not what it's about. Hashem wants you to become his best friend. And they're going to be the best friend with you when you grow up. When they grow up. As in their childhood years, son and daughter must go on living their lives openly and truthfully under your eyes. They must pour their hearts into yours. And should heaven and earth abandon them, they must ever find loyal support at once kindly and stern father and mother. If they go off the derech, if they spiritually drop, if they financially crash, emotionally, whatever problems come, they have to feel they can come to you, and you're always going to love them and support them and help them. This is what we need, and that's what we do with Hashem. So, Hashem, so we go into Tehillim, and we pray, and we cry, and we go to shul, and we do mitzvahs. Hashem, please, whatever problem. And Hashem is here, always the door is open. So we have to do it. The way the children relate to us, that's how he's going to relate to Hashem. So if we are very strict and din, then that's how they're going to look at Hashem. And will you thrust from you this boom of friendship, the first flower of the relation between parents and children? It will certainly blossom for you if you yourself do not crush it out of sheer ignorance. If you do not insist on seeing in the young man and young woman nothing more than the mere boy and girl. If you do not forget that as they grow older, they must be treated differently. As they grow older, they must be treated differently. And you must become friends to them in order that they may become friends to you. You have to change. The relationship is changing. It's not always parents-children. There's also friends. Then, when you have firmly linked their hearts to yours in this way, you may confidently allow them to leave you and wander abroad. Then when you have that strong bond, even if you let them go, they know you are there for them no matter what. And it gives them tremendous power. Over mountains and valleys, and over land and seas, they carry your picture, at once smiling and stern in their hearts. And in the hour of temptation, it will with warning mien appear to them as Jacob's picture did to Joseph, and will become their guardian angel to keep them worthy of you and save them from sinking. So that's so important. And I'll let you read the other part of Horeb, okay? The rest, but those are two parts I think were so important. And now I want to read to you, also from Samson Rafahish, but from the Chumash, a commentary on Parashas Toldos, which is coming actually in 2 weeks, I think. Yeah, about 2 weeks. When by Ras, so 3 weeks because beginning of the week. And I want to listen to that. It speaks about Yaakov and Esav. We all have children. You understand, today there's almost not one family that has a kid over there. That's a child, a kid at risk. It's not necessarily your fault. We can do things, but there are things we can do to prevent that as much as possible. But you have, so let's read and you're going to see what I mean. So it says in Parshas Toldos, this commentary from our Samson referred here, Zatzal, verse 27, the beginning of the Parsha. And it says the Vayigdalu hane'arim vayi Esav ish yodea Said ish sadeh v'Yaakov ish tam yoshev ohalim. When the lads grew up, Esav was a man who understood hunting, a man of the field, and Yaakov was a single-minded man. I don't like that name. It was a tamim. It was a complete man living in tents, connected to Torah. So the lads grew up. Samson Raphael here says, our sages never hesitate to point out us the errors and shortcomings, both great and small, of our ancestors, thereby making their life stories all the more instructive for us. In regard to this passage too, our sages make a comment which indicates that the sharp contrast between the two grandsons of Abraham may have originated not merely in their natural tendencies, but may have been caused also by mistake in their upbringing. Okay, so in saying that this part of the Torah here is teaching us about the potential mistake that we can do as parents in their upbringing of our kids, just like there was apparently a possible mistake from Yaakov, Yitzchak and Rivka to their kids, Esav and Yaakov, which I think is, I know there are people who argue, and Zweig doesn't think that one should be able to say that about Yaakov, Yitzchak and Rivka, but I believe we should be able to say that because it's here to teach us the potential mistake. And also the fact that it's from Yitzchak that we learn it, and Yitzchak was din, justice. I think it shows us that we have to be very, very careful in terms of justice, or the child should get just this and just that. You deserve this, you deserve that. That can be a very dangerous, competitive type of thing. Or you both get the same thing. Justice, you get the same thing because you both kids get the same thing. So let's see what he says. As long as they were little, no attention was given to the talent differences between them. Both were given the same upbringing and education. The basic tenet of education: train each child in accordance with its own way. At Pigidako. That each child should be educated both as a man and as a Jew in accordance with the tendencies latent in him, in accordance with the individuality that will result from these tendencies, was forgotten. The great task of the Jew is simple and straightforward as regard its basic content. Yeah, we all have to do 613 commandments. We all have to be religious and to serve God and to be close to God and have a relation with God. Okay. But the modes of its fulfillment are as varied and complex as the differences in individuality and the diversity of life that result from these differences. But to do that, how many types of Jews do we have? It's almost like every Jew will say 2 Jews, 3 synagogues, right? Or 2 Jews, 3 opinions. The idea is that everyone, even though there's something we do all the same, we all have to do it in our own unique way. That's so crucial. When you do chinuch and you teach your kids, you have to find how you're going to say Shema that is different than everyone else. Obviously, we cannot do everything different always, all the time, but you have to have your child feel that I'm great at Chumash, I'm great at Midrash, I'm great at Gemara, I'm great at this, I'm great at that, especially in the Torah. Help them find a mitzvah that it's their mitzvah. They know everything about tefillin, or they know everything about mezuzah, and that they feel they acquire that. That's them. They have something unique. The children today, they don't feel unique. They don't feel special. They don't think they have something. They have a mission. They don't feel they're meaningful. Kids need meaning. That's why they ask today more than any other generation. Why is there God? Why is there this? Why are mitzvahs? Why do we do this? And if we shut off our kids and we say because God says so, you're just destroying the kid. You say, let's find out. Let's go ask the rabbi. Let's look in the book. It's so important. This is crucial. We'll come back to learning Torah later on. But through the learning of Torah and the mitzvahs, that's where we can help them find their individuality. So for this reason, each individual must be raised for the same lofty purpose, but in accordance with its own way, in keeping with the path of life to which his personal tendencies may be expected to lead him. To attempt to educate Yaakov and Esav together in the same classroom, in the same routines of life and in the same manner, to raise both of them for, say, a life of study and contemplation will never mean to ruin one of the two. If you have kids and they're all in the same yeshiva, there's something wrong with the way you educate your kids. Because it can be you have 5 kids and they all belong to the same yeshiva with the same Rebbe. Every kid is different. Every kid is in a different approach. So we have to be very careful. Find the Rebbe that works for that kid. Find the school that works for that kid. If you put both of them in the same education, same thing, it can destroy them. And that's the reason why you can have 2 parents who are tzaddikim. Rosh Yeshiva, Rebbe, whatever it is, tzaddik and tzaddikes, and their kids teach their kids all the same. But because they teach all the same, there's something wrong. The kids say, I'm just the same as my brother. I'm not. What's the point? Just another robot, another angel. It's not. That's what we're supposed to. So it's teaching us that Esau was supposed to be great. Esau was supposed to be the one involved in the physical, and Yaakov in the spiritual. And the way Esau was educated put Esau in the situation where in his choice he didn't feel that he found his uniqueness, so to speak, and he disconnected him from the spiritual for wanting to find his uniqueness and be connected to the spiritual. Under such condition, a Yaakov type will learn to draw with ever-growing zeal from the well of wisdom and truth, but an Esau type will hardly be able to wait for the day when he can throw away his ancient school books. Esau here is a Jewish kid who says, I'm good at plumbing, but they say I'm a Gornish when I'm a nothing. When I learn school, I don't understand the Gemara. Then you never be successful in life. Therefore, then it's not for me. Then goodbye, Judaism. I don't need it. It's not for me. I'm going to be a plumber. I'm going to go bogoy. At that time, he will turn his back not only to his school books, but also to his life's purpose, which he has been taught only in a one-sided way that has no appeal whatever to his temperament. I'm only good at plumbing, therefore has nothing to do with Hashem, with why my life, what purpose. No, you can do plumbing for the Beis Hamikdash. You can do plumbing for the shul. So it's not connected. Hashem wants you to use your plumbing too, but to stay connected. So he said, had Yitzchak, only if he said that, I don't think nobody would have said that. But had Yitzchak and Rivka studied Esav's nature and asked themselves at an early stage how even an Esau will be with the strength, skill and courage latent within him could be won for endeavors in the service of God, so that the future Gibor, mighty man, would not become Gibor Tzaddik, a mighty hunter, but truly a Gibor Lifnei Hashem. He should have become Ish Tzaddik for Hashem, who knows how to hunt evil, how to hunt the snake. Instead, he got trapped by the snake. So then Yaakov and Esav, despite the basic differences in their tendencies, could have remained twin brothers in spirit and as well as in flesh. They were supposed to work together. Instead, Esav went off the derech. In that case, the sword of Esav, and it's interesting, be addressing the one who is more physical, and we are scared of that. Say, oh, he's more physical. Torah is not for him. No, that child is supposed to be a businessman and go out in the world and be a Kiddush Hashem. And we lost that child because of that. Yaakov took both roles. Now we have to do both. We have to work all day and we have to study all day. I mean, you know what I mean. We have to do both. It's supposed to be not like that. And for a guy who likes to learn, who is supposed to be learning, he has to work now, because we understand we have both. In a way, after Yaakov and Esav, every Jew had to make the tikkun for Esav. We have to understand that in us, we have both that Yaakov and Esav, and as parents, we have to be always aware that we need the physical and the spiritual, and both, and see what I'm good at in the physical and what I'm with spiritual, and bring them together. Shamayim v'aretz. We're making a tikkun. All our Chinuch is being a tikkun for Yaakov and Esav. In that case, the sword of Esav could have become wedded early to the spirit of Yaakov, and who knows what the different turn all of history would have taken. All of history would have been different. We'll have the Jews who work and the Jews who study, and they'll be supporting each other, no problem. And then the whole world will have taken that mission and live that way. The non-Jews will have take that system, understand that it's a world of balance, Shabbat, where the physical and spiritual are linked, where I can be the greatest businessman and still a Moshe Rabbeinu businessman. Speak to God and go to business. Speak to God and work in the farm. All our forefathers were farmers, right? But as things happen, Vayigdalu hane'arim, the lads grew up. Only after the lads had grown and to manhood was everyone surprised to see that two brothers from the same womb, who had enjoyed the same care, the same upbringing, and the same schooling, should have grown into two such diametrical opposites as Yaakov and Esav. It's amazing. So we have to. There's a bit more, but that's the main part that I wanted to share with you. It's really, when we educate our kids, you have to find what's unique about kids. Every kid has to find his special. In the school system that we have today, they don't find what's unique about them. Some do, but the majority don't. You have to push them. You're good at the gym. Yeah, that's amazing, Hashem. And you have to try to find their quality as early as possible. And they have that quality so they feel good about themselves. A kid is only going to be, a kid is only going to be close to Hashem and want to do mitzvot if he feels good about himself. If he's happy, he feels Hashem gifted me with that. And then I can use it. Otherwise, he's going to reject Judaism. God doesn't love me. There's nothing special about me. Why did Hashem create me? We parents have to find that spark. This is the Cholos HaTalmidim speaks about. The Cholos HaTalmidim is the student's obligation from the Piesetzner Rebbe. And he says that's the job of a Rebbe and the parents, both. They both have to see the sparks, the thing to lighten and see what's the child's likes and talent and think. Jews got talent, not just America got talent. Every individual got talent. We have to find our own talent and bring it out. That's really the key to happiness. We have to find our mission. And have to help the kids find their mission. So that's the part that I wanted to add. And there's one last thing that I wanted to say. Well, there's going to be more things, but for today, that's from Rabbi Zweig. On Living Torah, just came out not too long ago, and has a piece about Chinuch. It says Avraham had heard that his relative had been taken captive, and he armed his disciples. So it's on Chinuch, on Lech Lecha, Parshas Lech Lecha. He says this pasuk refers to Avraham Avinu's disciple as his chanichav, a term derived from the same root as the word chinuch. Rashi explains that chinuch is defined as the initiation of a person or utensil into the function in which it is destined to remain. This definition provides us with a powerful insight into true nature of chinuch. Your child is supposed to become something, and you have to find out what it is and to help them get it. The word chinuch is generally translated as education, but in truth the meaning of chinuch is very different. Education focuses on conveying information to the student. Its goal is for the students to possess a certain body of knowledge. We're not supposed to send them to yeshiva to just know things. We have to push them. Unfortunately, education today doesn't push people to think on their own. When they learn Torah, you're not supposed to teach them the commentaries. First, you have to teach them how to ask questions and think on their own. Then you add the commentaries. Because otherwise, it's just about following, not being individual. And through the question of the child, the questions are the most important, because from the question of the child, you understand what the child's tendency is, what he likes, what interests him. So education focuses on conveying information to the student. Its goal to the student is okay. Chinuch, on the other hand, has a very different goal. Its purpose is to develop a person's potential so that he will remain on the path onto which he has been introduced. While education may play a role in chinuch, the process of chinuch requires more than merely transmitting information. The degree of factual knowledge that the student acquires does not reflect the level of success of the chinuch. How much knowledge your kid has doesn't reflect the success of chinuch. You want your child to be successful in chinuch, it's not how much he knows. It's how much he has found himself. It's how much he has successfully find what he's good at. That's the success of chinuch. Chinuch means giving a child direction in life. It means saying to it that in the future the child will continue doing what he's being trained to do. You're trained to be close to God, to have a relationship with God. You're trained to change the world. You're trained to be a light into nation, to be good to people, to give, to work on character traits. Chinuch is considered successful only if the child ultimately continues following the path that is laid out for him. Thus, being mechanech a child to perform mitzvahs doesn't necessarily mean compelling the child to go through the motion of those mitzvahs immediately. Sometimes it's better to teach less mitzvahs, but to teach the kid to enjoy the mitzvahs, they can understand the mitzvahs, and to feel how he can connect himself to mitzvot. Such an approach may work in the short terms if you just have him just do all the mitzvot as soon as possible. But the success of chinuch is measured only by its long-term effects. If a person does not keep up the practice of his youth later in his life, then his chinuch has failed. So I'm telling to the parents, don't be too strict with your children when they're young, especially in terms of Torah and mitzvot. If you're too strict, you say, oh, you don't do that, you're going to go to hell. Then right now he's going to be from, but later he's going to drop everything. It is better to be more lenient at the beginning and to be soft and loving now. And now he's struggling because he's rebelling, he's trying to find himself, he doesn't understand, he's not interested. But if you give him a bad taste now of Judaism, then he's going to drop off everything. It is better that he's less from now and he become from later, less religious now, than he become religious later, than he's really than religious now and drop everything later. For parents, this is a difficult concept to absorb, but it is also a crucial one. For parents, it's hard because we care about what the neighbor is going to say. Look, my child is not, I'm a failure in my own education of my kids. Look, he's not religious. What people want to say, I'm not a good father. Nothing to do with that. I mean, it has to do with it, but we have to take away that ego, that arrogance. Your child is the most precious thing in the world. Who cares what people say? Today, we should not worry about the judgment. We always judge anyway. You know who your kid is, and he's a good person. And who cares what the thing? If the kids feels that you want them to be from, to look from because of the neighbors, you want them to look religious and holy just because what the people are going to say, you lose him. Oh, it's just about you. It's just about your ego. You have to be very careful as parents. We have to break our ego and be humble and look in the future. Plant now for the future. This is a common tendency for parents to focus on their children's action at the present moment. But it is far more important to focus on what the child will be doing years later. In other words, instilling love for learning in the child has far greater value than forcing a child to absorb copious amount of information. Pray 10 minutes Shema with love. With music, with love, with emotions. And then, if later on when you get there, you can do more. Than you gotta read all of davening 1 hour. Otherwise, it's not davening. You have to do everything. It's halakha. But then, when he's gonna leave your house, he's gonna do everything. He's not even gonna say Shema, not even a thing. Quality versus quantity. In other words, instilling love for learning in a child has far greater value than forcing a child to absorb copious amount of information. The same applies to observance of mitzvahs. Only if a child learns to love what he does will he be guaranteed to continue that path in life. He has to love it. How are you going to love it? Not by forcing him. You have to teach him how to love it. But you have to teach yourself first how to love it. Because we sometimes do it not out loud because we know it's the right thing and we don't want to go to hell. We don't want to be punished. We don't want... Learn yourself how to love being from, how to love being religious, how to love putting feeling, how to love to daven. Then you can teach your child why you love it and why he can love it. The same applies to observing mitzvahs. Therefore, if it is reasonable to assume that a given action will cause the child to behave properly in the long run, years later, then that action constitutes proper chinuch. If not, it does not represent chinuch at all. True chinuch requires a long-run perspective akin to the notion that it is preferable to those to lose a battle in order to win a war. Alright, I think I've said enough for now, and those messages are pretty clear. Try to absorb what I say, try to review it, and for your own children. And even if your kids are not teenagers yet, you have to get the concept before, because when it comes, you won't know how to react, and it will be very hard. And you have to be ready to react with love. So it is harder. It's one of the hardest things in the world. It's very hard. We go through hell with our kids, so to speak, but it is what makes us become real people, understand real Judaism, real Torah, real love, real closeness to Hashem, real relationship. May we all be successful in raising our kids in the proper path with love and holiness. Baruch Adonai Olam. Amen ve'amen.